UN Tourism together with the Ministry of Tourism of Brazil and also in collaboration with the Inter-American Development Bank. I have the pleasure to invite His Excellency Minister Celso Sabino, Minister of Tourism of Brazil, to deliver welcome remarks. Excellency, thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Bom dia, good morning, bonjour, dobre dia. Obrigado pela presença, pelo prestígio e pela participação de todos. Obrigado por virem a Belém para esse debate tão importante. Me permitam falar em português, estamos com os fones. I'll speak in Portuguese, so we have translation. For English, Channel 1. Temos em russo? Não? English e português? Espanhol? Only English. Wow. Everyone speaks Spanish here? So you understand English or Portuguese? Obrigado pela presença nessa manhã de quinta-feira, nesse espaço tão importante, onde nós vamos tentar aqui falar um pouco de como o turismo pode ajudar a regenerar florestas, a como o turismo pode ajudar a preservar os rios limpos, e como o turismo pode ajudar a combater as mudanças climáticas e, principalmente, ajudar na descarbonização do planeta. O governo do Brasil, como todos têm visto, tem atuado aqui nessa COP e também nas COPs anteriores como um agente propositivo e também reativo. O nosso país possui diversos biomas, e aqui nós estamos na porta de entrada talvez do principal bioma do planeta Terra, que é a floresta amazônica. Nessa floresta nós temos reunidos o maior número de espécies vegetais e o maior número de espécies animais em que um único local pode apresentar. É a maior floresta tropical do planeta também. E o entendimento do governo do Brasil e que a gente tem levado para os nossos debates e nossas negociações é de que é indissociável a relação entre preservação da floresta e o desenvolvimento das pessoas que vivem na floresta ou ao redor das florestas. Porque se nós não garantirmos às pessoas que vivem nestas florestas desenvolvimento, capacidade de crescer, perspectiva de que seus filhos e netos terão a mesma educação, a mesma saúde, a mesma condição de evoluir economicamente, politicamente, intelectualmente, do que os filhos e netos de quem vive nos grandes centros urbanos ao redor do mundo, nós não vamos estar garantindo a floresta em pé. E hoje, nós ainda temos, ao redor de todas as florestas tropicais do planeta, famílias que vivem no subdesenvolvimento, vivem sem a perspectiva, muitas vezes, de saber o que vão se alimentar no outro dia. E que ninguém se engane. Quando isso acontece, se há uma árvore que tenha valor econômico, essa árvore vai para o chão, porque a família não vai ficar com fome. Se a alternativa for poluir o rio para promover uma mineração, o rio será poluído, porque essas famílias não vão ficar com fome. E o que a gente vai falar um pouco hoje aqui é exatamente uma das formas mais sustentáveis, responsáveis e solidárias de promover o desenvolvimento dessas pessoas, associada à preservação da floresta e dos rios, que é exatamente através do turismo. O turismo regenerativo, o turismo sustentável e o turismo responsável e o turismo solidário. A gente fala muito sobre cada uma dessas características e adjetivos vinculados à palavra do turismo, mas vou tentar explicar um pouco por que cada uma. Sustentável, quando a gente garante ao turista e àquele que está exercendo a atividade econômica do turismo, meios de hospedagem, meios de transporte e meios de usar a floresta e os rios para fazer turismo, que ajudem a manter a floresta e, se possível, até regenerar a floresta, sem derrubar nenhuma árvore, com habitações que preservem a vegetação, que usem toda a tecnologia disponível para o tratamento de resíduos sólidos, de resíduos líquidos e energias renováveis, seja através de energia solar, energia eólica ou outro meio de energia produzida que não seja através de combustíveis fósseis ou que não seja renovável. Quando a gente fala de solidariedade, é exatamente linkado a um turismo que a gente tem muito aqui no Brasil e a gente está, junto à ONU Turismo, tentando levar para o mundo. É um turismo de base comunitária, é um turismo realizado por pessoas, e aqui, atravessando o rio do outro lado, a gente tem um exemplo muito emblemático, que é o caso da Dona Nena. A Dona Nena é a líder de uma comunidade que fica aqui do outro lado desse rio, em frente a Belém, em uma das ilhas que fazem parte de Belém, chamada Ilha do Combu. E essa comunidade, vejam só, planta cacau. E para quem não conhece a cultura do cacau, o cacau é uma planta que precisa de sombra para crescer. Ele não pode ser em um pasto ou em uma área aberta plantado, porque ele vai morrer. Então a muda de cacau, ela precisa de sombra para crescer. Então, necessariamente, a produção de cacau precisa de uma floresta viva, para que essa floresta produza sombra para a planta crescer. Então, eles produzem o cacau, e antes, eles vendiam o cacau, ou a semente do cacau, muitas vezes in natura, ou simplesmente semi-elaborada, seca. E hoje, essa comunidade já planta o cacau, extrai a amêndoa, da amêndoa seca ela, faz o nibs, que é a primeira matéria-prima que vai dar origem ao chocolate, produz o chocolate, porque a própria Dona Nena fez cursos no sul do país, e é hoje uma chocolatier, uma especialista em chocolate, produzem seus próprios chocolates, já tem a sua própria marca, vendem e recebem pessoas com fins turísticos, para conhecer a produção, para conhecer a floresta. É lá que tem aquela famosa árvore, Samalmeira, onde o presidente Lula e o presidente Macron tiraram aquela foto. Então, esse é um exemplo de um turismo de base comunitária, de um turismo regenerativo, de um turismo responsável e de um turismo sustentável. Então, na hora que a gente traz esse debate para a Organização das Nações Unidas, e aqui, nós no Brasil, na América do Sul, estamos muito felizes, porque estamos hoje tendo o protagonismo de presidir o Conselho Executivo da ONU Turismo, de apresentar a proposta, ver ela aprovada e presidir também o grupo de trabalho hoje da ONU Turismo, que trata sobre turismo sustentável, e ter grandes práticas no mundo que podem ajudar a nossa humanidade a promover desenvolvimento econômico com sustentabilidade, a garantir a preservação das florestas e dos nossos mananciais de água, e com isso dar a nossa parcela de contribuição. Há muito se fala que o turismo é uma indústria limpa. É uma frase muito dita aqui no Brasil, que o turismo é uma indústria sem chaminés. Agora é a hora de nós mostrarmos ao mundo que a palavra sustentabilidade não é só uma tese, não é só um projeto, não é só uma ideia, mas ele já é realidade em várias partes do planeta e pode ser realidade também em todas as regiões do planeta. Nós temos diversos exemplos de biomas na Austrália, no México, no Canadá, na Europa, na África, que podem e devem garantir o desenvolvimento das pessoas que vivem nestes biomas ou ao redor destes biomas, e através do turismo isso é plenamente possível. O mundo hoje está ávido para se desestressar. O mundo hoje está ávido para diminuir a sua velocidade. Existem países que estão usando recursos da saúde para promover o turismo, para dizer para a sua sociedade para viajar, porque para viajar também é saúde. E aqui a gente tem a possibilidade, nessas regiões de floresta tropical, de fazer com que isso aconteça, de fazer com que aquelas pessoas que são conhecidas como workaholic, ou que trabalham diuturnamente, às vezes não tiram nem férias, não sabem às vezes nem o que é pisar descalço no chão da sua própria casa, possa visitar uma região dessa, tirar o sapato, tirar a meia, encostar a palma do seu pé na terra nua e crua da floresta. Isso por si só já é uma grande terapia. Respirar o orvalho produzido pela chuva nas florestas tropicais é outra. Isso sem contar o silêncio, a paz, o canto dos pássaros e a natureza viva. Então aqui a gente tem essa possibilidade e o Brasil tem apresentado essa proposta na ONU Turismo, aqui na COP. Ontem e hoje são os dias que nós conseguimos com a presença da COP para dedicar o turismo na COP, e a gente tem certeza que esse será o futuro da nossa atividade, esse será o futuro da geração de emprego, de renda em todo o planeta, e esse é o melhor caminho para preservar as florestas tropicais e descarbonizar o planeta. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado, ministro. Estamos com muita vontade de visitar a ilha do Cumbu amanhã. Vamos ir para lá, conhecer a fábrica de chocolate. Então, estou muito contente que você pudesse falar disso e também queria agradecer, no nome da ONU Turismo, pelo estabelecimento do grupo de trabalho de ação climática e turismo. Acho que vamos fazer muita coisa boa todos juntos. O apoio do Ministério ha sido fundamental para estes dias temáticos de turismo. Obrigada. Agora, change to English. I now have the pleasure to introduce the welcome remarks from our Secretary General, Surab Pololikashvili.
Dear Minister, dear brother Celso Sabino, bom dia. Dear Marcelo Freixo and other brother, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, good morning. It's an honor to join you virtually in Belém, in the heart of the Amazon, one of the most powerful symbols of both climate urgency and climate hope. I want to offer a special word of appreciation to dear Minister Celso Sabino. Over the past years, your collaboration, your enthusiasm, and your determination have made a real difference. The opening of our regional office in Rio de Janeiro, your renewed chairmanship of the Executive Council, and Brazil's leading role as partner country of FITUR 2025 all reflect your personal commitment. Thank you, my dear brother, dear Celso, for always standing with tourism and for inspiring so many of us with your vision. The fact that COP30 is happening today in Belém, in your city, is one more example of Brazil's leadership. Last year at COP29, tourism entered and we went together in Baku the Global Action Agenda for the first time. This year, the tourism thematic days mark another milestone. Tourism is now firmly part of the climate conversation, and this is our moment to move from ambition to action. In 50 years, international arrivals have grown from 200 million to 1.5 billion. Revenues have increased 11-fold. This growth shows our potential, but also our responsibility. Tourism contributes an estimated 8.8% of global emissions, And climate change threatens the very destinations and communities on which tourism depends. In the spirit of Brazil's multilateral collective effort, we join the COP30 presidency in advancing a low-carbon, climate-resilient future for tourism. We commend Brazil for its leadership, including the launch of the Working Group of Tourism and Climate Action, already uniting 29 countries. We also thank Azerbaijan for the COP29 declaration endorsed by 70 governments. This gives us a strong foundation as we co-create the global partnership for enhanced climate action in tourism. Through the Glasgow Declaration and the One Planet program, supported by UNEP, hundreds of destinations and businesses are already measuring emissions, decarbonizing operations, and regenerating ecosystems. Our message is simple: tourism can and must be part of the solution. As we open the Tourism Days at COP30, I thank Brazil, UNEP, UNFCCC, and all our partners for your commitment. Muito obrigado. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. May I now kindly invite Mr. Dilior Hakimov, Director of Institutional Relations, Partnerships and Advocacy of UN Tourism, for complementary remarks.
Thank you so much. Very good morning, everybody. It's really difficult. I was impressed, Your Excellency, by speech you delivered. Was listening carefully how you were voicing out and advocating what is happening here. In the rest of the world, we all believe that Amazonia is being and should be going as lungs of the planet. And we all care what is happening today here. I was myself witnessing, and throughout your speech you were referring to the COP29 when with Minister of Tourism of Azerbaijan, you were showing up two of your stands over there. So looking back, in 1 year we reached a lot of progress in that sense. My congratulations on the election of Brazil as chair of the Executive Council. It gives us a lot of more, not only confidence, but power to incorporate the climate into the tourism agenda. And having my own conversations with our colleagues, and I should thanks personally here, Senior Virginia Fernandez-Trapa, for her personal championship of bringing the climate sensitivity into the tourism agenda. It means a lot. And also using this opportunity to thank our regional office, Aitor and his team, for this wonderful job. But this should not undermine the importance of your presence in the room, Mr. Minister, because it underlines how much Brazil is caring, and we really appreciate backup and thorough follow-up of the Brazil in constantly moving the climate agenda throughout this diverse global agenda. You know, it's not every country in the world today supporting this climatic agenda, and I also was carefully listening what you were saying about this renewable energy resources. So when it comes to the event here at COP30, we are pleased to be advancing the work together with Brazil, whose leadership, as I already mentioned before, has been instrumental in promoting climatic agenda in our overall tourism policies. The plan is to develop in support of the program of work of the high-level climate champions, and also together with Azerbaijan. One more, thank Azerbaijan for being on board for that. The plan will help us strengthen measurement of greenhouse gas emissions, accelerate adaptation, and scale practical and pioneering climate solutions across different destinations. Most importantly, the plan will lead by 2028 to the operationalization of the Global Partnership for Enhanced Climate Action in Tourism, as it was mentioned by our Secretary General, Mr. Zurab Palarikashvili, an enhanced government mechanism to support the implementation of mitigation and adaptation measures. At the end of my very short introductory remarks, I would like also to say that it's not any more secret we are facing the new leadership in the UN tourism, and Secretary General-elect Shayhan Nawaz, in anticipation of your becoming the new Secretary General, already mentioned that one of the 3 priorities areas will be environment and climate. So we are very much confident to continue our joint efforts and looking for the global partnerships that is reflected in the today event. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hakimov. May I now invite Your Excellency and the panelists to take a group photo before we continue with the panel discussion. All the speakers on stage, please, and colleagues.
Acho que eu tenho.
Okay, so we continue with our program. It's been great to have such high-level opening, and the support of the Minister of Tourism, of course, is much appreciated in all this agenda that we are trying to advance under the climate high-level champions. As you know, the process of the Paris Agreement is normally focusing on the parties, the governments. But a few years ago, they realized that without the action of a broader spectrum of stakeholders, it would be difficult to really achieve what we need to achieve, right? As humanity, I would say. So they initiated this process of climate high-level champions to mobilize different sectors of the economy, different types of stakeholders. And our event today is flying under that banner. So we are part of the non-party stakeholder action, and very proud that with support from Brazil, we could integrate tourism in this agenda, complementary to the Paris Agreement. So let me invite now colleague Carolina Favero. She's the head of sustainability of the Ministry of Tourism of Brazil, and she will be telling us a bit what is the pioneering experience that Brazil is bringing to the table, and which we hope to be able to escalate to other countries, other regions, through the global partnership and, of course, the climate working group. So, Carolina, the floor is yours.
Bom dia a todos e a todas. I will speak in Portuguese, so you need the phone for translation. Senhoras e senhores, excelências, colegas de outros países, representantes de delegações, organismos internacionais, setor privado, sociedade civil e da comunidade científica. É uma grande honra receber todos vocês aqui, em Belém do Pará, neste momento histórico para o Brasil, que é a COP30, e participar deste momento dedicado a um dos setores mais estratégicos e transformadores para as ações climáticas globais, o turismo. O Brasil chega à COP30 com a convicção de que o turismo pode e deve ser um vetor de regeneração, não apenas um setor econômico. Nosso compromisso é transformar a forma como o mundo viaja e se conecta com todos os territórios, com as pessoas e com os ecossistemas. Hoje, o turismo representa cerca de 8% das emissões globais de gases de efeito estufa, incluindo emissões diretas e indiretas. Isso nos impõe uma enorme responsabilidade, mas também uma oportunidade sem precedentes. Nos últimos anos, temos avançado de forma consistente para quantificar, entender e transformar esse impacto. Durante a COP29, em Baku, o Brasil assumiu um papel de liderança na declaração climática em turismo, e aqui em Belém, damos o passo seguinte: consolidar uma parceria global para a ação climática no turismo, integrando governos, empresas, bancos de desenvolvimento, organizações internacionais, sociedade civil organizada e comunidades locais. Um dos maiores legados que o Brasil apresenta nesta COP é o primeiro inventário nacional de emissões de gases de efeito estufa do setor de turismo. Um marco histórico desenvolvido sob a coordenação do Ministério do Turismo, com apoio do Banco Interamericano de Desenvolvimento e da ONU Turismo. Pela primeira vez, um país das Américas consegue mensurar nacionalmente, com rigor científico, o impacto climático direto de toda a cadeia do turismo: transporte, hospedagem, alimentação, eventos e experiências. Os resultados mostram que as emissões diretas do turismo no Brasil, calculadas a partir do consumo de energia, somam 22 milhões de toneladas de gás carbônico equivalente, representando a 1% das emissões nacionais. A aviação doméstica e o transporte terrestre respondem por 97% desse total. Agora, avançamos para a etapa seguinte: o cálculo das emissões indiretas. Esse esforço vai nos permitir compreender integralmente a cadeia de valor do turismo e identificar o real potencial do setor para contribuir com as metas nacionais de mitigação, seja ampliando a adoção de tecnologias limpas e de baixo carbono, promovendo a circularidade e a redução de resíduos, apoiando a expansão de biocombustíveis sustentáveis, ou todas estas em conjunto. Essa base de dados inédita nos permitirá formular políticas de mitigação orientada por evidências, com metas claras, mensuráveis e plenamente alinhadas à transição para uma economia resiliente de baixo carbono. O detalhamento desse estudo será apresentado amanhã, às 14 horas, no estande do Ministério do Turismo, na Green Zone, estande Conheça o Brasil. Mas medir não basta. Precisamos agir, e agir de forma integrada. Por isso, estamos lançando também o Plano de Adaptação Climática para o Turismo, construído de maneira transversal, com diversos outros ministérios, universidades e sociedade civil, comunidades locais. Na contribuição nacionalmente determinada do Brasil, CND, conjunto de compromissos que o Brasil assumiu internacionalmente para combater as mudanças climáticas, apresentada em novembro de 2024, o turismo foi reconhecido pela primeira vez como um dos setores prioritários para a elaboração de um plano de adaptação. Hoje, temos orgulho de dizer que o Plano Clima Adaptação para o Turismo está concluído. Já apresentamos na Green Zone e só estamos aguardando o seu lançamento oficial, que ocorrerá junto aos demais planos setoriais desenvolvidos pelo Brasil, apresentado pelo Ministério do Meio Ambiente. Ao todo, serão 16 planos de adaptação, e o turismo passa a integrar esse conjunto estratégico de ações para fortalecer nossa resiliência climática. Esse plano traz princípios orientadores para o turismo regenerativo, um marco que articula mitigação, adaptação e biodiversidade, conectando políticas climáticas de conservação e de desenvolvimento regional. No Brasil, regenerar significa aprender com a Amazônia, não explorá-la, mas sim escutá-la. Significa valorizar o conhecimento tradicional, reconhecer o papel das mulheres e das comunidades locais, promover modelos de negócios que desenvolvem a natureza mais do que retiram. Como vocês sabem, ontem, na Green Zone também, a ONU Turismo, juntamente com o Ministério, nós lançamos um documento de discussão sobre abordagens regenerativas para a ação climática no turismo, em parceria com a ONU Turismo. O Ministério do Turismo também trabalhou o objetivo de ampliar a conscientização sobre esse tema. Convido todos a participarem da consulta e compartilharem seus comentários para que o documento possa incorporar o máximo de perspectivas, já que, afinal, regeneração é, por natureza, um processo participativo. Nada do que falei anteriormente seria possível sem o diálogo e a cooperação. A criação do Grupo Interinstitucional de Ação Climática em Turismo, por iniciativa do Ministério do Turismo do Brasil, com o suporte da ONU Turismo, é um marco para fortalecer a governança global do setor. Durante a primeira reunião do grupo, em 7 de novembro, na Assembleia Geral da ONU Turismo, o Brasil foi eleito como presidente, tendo Maldivas e Antigua Barbuda como vice-presidente. Ao todo, 29 países já aderiram ao grupo e esperamos receber ainda mais participantes. A partir dessa colaboração, nasce a proposta de uma parceria global para a ação climática ampliada no turismo. Essa plataforma é o nosso plano de soluções aceleradas para o setor e o nosso caminho para contribuir à agenda global de ação climática até 2028, transformando experiências locais de referência em trajetórias de implementação global para mitigação, adaptação e regeneração. Essa parceria não é apenas uma iniciativa técnica, é um chamado à corresponsabilidade, à convergência de esforços e à confiança mútua entre nações, empresas e cidadãos. Sabemos também que a transformação não virá apenas de políticas públicas. O setor privado é um aliado fundamental, das companhias aéreas às operadoras de turismo, dos hotéis às plataformas digitais. Empresas presentes aqui, e tantas outras conhecidas por nós, já mostram que é possível inovar com responsabilidade, investindo em eficiência energética, economia circular e redução da pegada de carbono. Mas é igualmente essencial reconhecer o protagonismo das comunidades locais. O turismo sustentável não é apenas um produto, é uma relação, uma troca entre quem visita e quem acolhe. No Brasil, comunidades indígenas, ribeirinhas, quilombolas e tantas outras comunidades tradicionais e comunidades urbanas estão transformando destinos em laboratórios vivos de resiliência e regeneração. Exemplos disso mostramos ontem, lá no estande também da Green Zone, iniciativas, boas práticas, e hoje também à tarde teremos mais um momento de iniciativas sendo apresentadas. O que mostramos hoje não é o ponto final de uma jornada, mas o início de uma trajetória clara. Até 2028, que é o nosso prazo do nosso programa de ação de aceleração de soluções, o Brasil pretende consolidar um modelo de turismo baixo em carbono, resiliente às mudanças climáticas e regenerativo. Isso inclui metas concretas para redução de emissões, adaptação de destinos vulneráveis, capacitação de gestores públicos e privados e incentivo à inovação verde. E queremos que esse caminho seja trilhado em parceria com o mundo. A todos aqui presentes, se existe um lugar no planeta que traduz, ao mesmo tempo, a urgência e a esperança da agenda climática, esse lugar é a Amazônia. Aqui, onde o verde pulsa com o coração do mundo, o turismo tem a oportunidade de se afirmar como parte da solução, um motor de prosperidade que preserva enquanto desenvolve. Que a COP30, realizada aqui em Belém, marque o início de uma nova era para o turismo global. Uma era de mais responsabilidade, mais regeneração e mais cooperação entre as nações para a pauta do turismo. Porque, quando o turismo assume o compromisso com o clima, o mundo inteiro avança junto, rumo ao futuro que desejamos construir. Muito obrigada.
Thank you so much, Carolina, for taking us through the process and the work of Brazil advancing climate action in tourism. I would like now to invite a partner in this program of accelerated solutions, the Inter-American Development Bank, to share a few words. Katia Fenives, she's climate change and sustainability specialist of IDB in Brazil. Katia.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to join you today. Bom dia a todos e todas. Eu sou brasileira, mas me pediram para falar em inglês, especialmente porque depois acho que vai ficar gravado um vídeo e, portanto, vai facilitar talvez os diálogos. First of all, I would like to thank my colleague Juliana Bettini, who is brilliantly leading this partnership with both the UN Tourism and the Ministry of Tourism, and she couldn't be here today, so I'm presenting on behalf of her. So it's an honor for the Inter-American Development Bank to contribute to this conservation on global partnership for enhanced climate action in tourism here at COP30 Tourism Day. The inclusion of tourism in the COP action agenda and this multi-realm spirit of collective effort recognize that tourism is not just a vulnerable sector, as we've been hearing in the previous talks as well. It's also a power lever for climate solutions, inclusive jobs, and nature conservation, something that we all need here and are pushing for in different rooms we are seeing around. At the IDB, we see climate action in tourism as a triple opportunity to decarbonize value chains, to build resilience in destinations and communities, and to protect and restore natural capital. Tourism is deeply exposed to droughts, floods, fires, ecosystem loss, and it also contributes significantly to global emissions. If we want tourism to keep generating jobs and income in Latin America and the Caribbean, which is the region we are most active, climate action must move from pilots to policies, from isolated projects to integrated systems. The Solutions Acceleration Plan, Plano de Aceleração de Soluções, that the Secretary, the Vice Minister, has just mentioned, that we proudly share with UN and Tourism and the Ministry of Tourism, is part of the action agenda focused today already identifies very concrete areas where the IDB is a committed partner. Together with the Ministry and the UN terms, we are collating the pilot implementation of a tourist greenhouse gas emissions inventory in Brazil. This pilot will not only measure emissions across the tourist value chain, but also develop a methodological framework and practical calculator that other countries can adopt to better inform their mitigation policies and targets. So it's a replicable tool that can be adopted abroad. We are also working with the Ministry of Tourism and partners to design green credit lines and blended finance mechanisms for climate action in tourism. This includes integrating climate and resilience criteria into Brazil's tourist fund, Fungetur, and exploring additional financial instruments to mobilize investment in low carbon and climate resilient solutions. I just want to pause here to also mention another initiative that was recently launched by the Brazilian government in partnership with the IDB. It is a very innovative solution called the EcoInvest. It is led by the Ministry of Finance through the Secretary of National Treasury. And the current auction that is active currently is dedicated, that has a chapter or has a pillar dedicated to sustainable tourism. So please check that, especially if you are from the private sector, because that can represent an opportunity for you to mobilize capital at scale to implement very innovative solutions. Finally, we will support the dissemination of the knowledge generation through this action agenda among countries in the region, reinforcing the IDB's role as a knowledge bank and helping scale good practice beyond Brazil. This action agenda is not an isolated project. It's a blueprint for how a country can align its tourism sector with the Glasgow Declaration, its NDC, and long-term climate strategies, while generating opportunities for communities and small and medium enterprises. Through the Global Partnership for Enhanced Climate Action in Tourism, the IDB stands ready to share these methodologies, to replicate them with other countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, and to connect robust policies with scalable finance. We look forward to working with all of you to ensure that by COP30 and beyond, tourism is firmly on a low-carbon, climate resilience, and nature-positive path, and that no destination is left behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Katia. It's really, I think, inspiring and quite symbolic that already from the scratch of this plan of accelerated solutions, we have multilateral development banks supporting the effort, and we hope that it can be an example for other regions to follow suit. So thank you, IDB, for the support you are providing. I guess all our panelists are now very eager to start the conversation. 2 days ago, we had a brainstorming session about the Global Partnership for Enhanced Climate Action in Tourism. Most of you were there. Some of you didn't arrive yet to Belém. But the idea is that we will be co-creating this global partnership, of course, building on the program for accelerated solutions that Carolina has presented. So we have a good representation of different types of stakeholders. And I'm now very honored and happy to be inviting to join me on stage our distinguished panelists. We have Ms. Gunay Baraimova. She's Head of Policy of the State Tourism Agency of Azerbaijan. We also have Sofia Davila Anchiraico. She's Director of Tourism Environmental Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Tourism of Peru. Mr. Scott Lawson, Senior ESG Manager at EasyJet Holidays. Dr. Adam Terando, Climate Action Director of Iberostar Group. And Pedro Andrade Correia de Brito, Institutional Relations Lead of the Cristo Redentor, the Christ Redeemer. So thank you, colleagues, for being here. It's really a pleasure. As I was mentioning in the introduction, this is all about thinking in scale. How are we going to be scaling up the good work that the sector is doing, and which of those local solutions, business solutions, are the ones that we need to prioritize for greater change. So we have selected, let's say, 3 levers of transformation to guide the conversation today. The first one is strengthening collaboration. I mean, I don't think I need to justify again why strengthening collaboration is important, but we thought it's always interesting to hear your views, public-private partnerships, and how do we enable that scalable action. Second lever we are proposing is transforming systems. So how do we accelerate decarbonization, resource efficiency across value chains? How do we integrate circularity, food systems, etc.? And the third lever we are proposing is focusing on regenerating nature. So advancing adaptation, biodiversity protection, nature-based solutions, and so on. We think that those 3 can probably spark a brilliant conversation. So let me start with the first lever, which is the one on strengthening collaboration. And I'm going to propose the first question to you, Gunay. Gunay from Azerbaijan State Tourism Agency. I mean, at COP29, your support was instrumental to achieve the COP29 declaration on enhanced climate action in tourism. From your perspective, why is stronger international collaboration needed now?
Hello? Hello? Good afternoon. Thanks a lot for the invitation to be part of this very important panel. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. So regarding our experience with COP29, what we learned, you know, the strongest lessons that we took away from COP29 was that for many governments, tourism and climate still live in 2 separate worlds. So tourism, most of the many tourism policymakers do not look at tourism from a climate lens, and climate negotiators, they rarely think about tourism. So this was the main challenge that we were faced with during this process. So there is a need not just to bring tourism into climate negotiations, but also the other way around, to bring climate into tourism policy making process. Because tourism cannot be aside from the, cannot be left, you know, isolated from the big global climate processes. So if it does so, destinations will struggle with building resilient tourism destinations, with planning low carbon tourism development. So that's the main reason why international cooperation is so important right now. So we need to even if a kind of country has a strong political will to enhance or to take climate action in tourism, still they lack shared models, tested methodologies. So if without strong international coordination, every country will end up reinventing the wheel every time. So here comes global partnership, which I believe is very important for us to bridge these gaps. So with global partnership, we can develop a mechanism that brings tourism and climate policies together, both at national and international levels. So it can help us align measurement frameworks, which is very important, harmonize our approach to adaptation planning, and develop shared tools, and also help destinations to build the sustainable models. So I believe that, you know, if we focus on through international coordination, strong international cooperation, we will be able to ensure that our sector moves at a pace that the climate challenge demands. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gunay, for bringing the pathway from COP29 to COP30. I guess from recognition to coordinated action at all levels. I really look forward to the partnership to providing those type of solutions. The second question is for you, Pedro. Cristo Redentor in Rio de Janeiro is one of the most world's iconic heritage sites, and it plays now a leading role in a growing coalition of cultural and emblematic sites that are committed to climate action. Pedro, how can this coalition become a driver of accelerated climate action at destination level?
Well, thank you very much, Virginia. The World Heritage Sites Network for Climate Action is promoted by the Christ the Redeemer Sanctuary and Machu Picchu with the support of Green Initiative. And we can, with that, advance measurable climate strategies, integrating low emissions operations, ecosystem conservation, community engagement, and visitor education. Thus, networking together means that the sharing of best practices, engaging of our communities, and making our climate actions widespread and visible. Thus, contributing to catalyze a broader shift across the tourism industry and public, a necessary shift from isolated sustainability efforts to coordinated, impactful mitigation at scale. By investing in decarbonization, strengthening conservation policies, frameworks, and financing environmental and social projects held by heritage management institutions, we can accelerate climate action in tourism.
Thank you, Pedro. I think it's quite energizing to think about the network of such emblematic sites supporting, the advancement of climate action in tourism, as every tourist in the world has them in the radar, and probably they resonate a lot. It's going to be a lot meaningful work, Pedro. Happy to work alongside you. Scott, we're now shifting to the private sector. EasyJet Holidays is one of the fastest growing tour operators in Europe, and also an influential actor across the hotel and destination value chain, I would say. So through your work on ESG and your engagement with hotel partners and destinations, how do you see partnerships helping steer the wider tourism value chain?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So as Virginia said, we're one of the largest growing, quickest growing tour operators in Europe and North Africa. And that means we take millions of customers on holiday each year, and we've got thousands of partners across hotels and our destination management companies that help support our customers with transfers in destination. So that means for us, our journey to help lessen the impact and make holidays more sustainable for our customers heavily relies on those partnerships. So currently what we do is we take the best work we see across our hotel chains, and we share that amongst all of our hotels via newsletters, bringing people together in person. But we can do more. So we've already seen great success from the UN Tourism Statistical Framework on measuring the sustainability of tourism. And that's where we're looking at the success of that at a macro level and how we can bring that into a micro level with our partnership in delivering the first ESG framework specifically for tourism. So we know that once hotels can accurately compare and contrast their performance with others, it makes it a lot easier for them to be able to pick and choose where they invest their time, where they invest their money into making better choices for them, into making their operations more sustainable and ultimately improving their operations and their customer experience.
Thank you very much, Scott. So we see how collaboration provides the foundation. All of our speakers alluded to the need to work in partnerships, but let's now explore our second lever on transforming systems. And I'm looking at you, Sofia. Peru actually is going to approve the circular economy roadmap for tourism in December, if I'm not mistaken. And how do you think this roadmap is going to accelerate the transition to low carbon tourism?
Hello, good morning. Good morning to everyone. First, I would like to extend the greetings of the Ministry of Tourism, Trade of Tourism, Mr. Samera. We appreciate very kindly this invitation to talk about global partnership and enhance climate action in tourism. Yes, the goal is to December we have our first circular economy roadmap, because this will be a milestone for Peru tourism sector, because we adopt a framework that not only promote good practice in tourism, but also drive a structural shift in how services are produced, consumed, and managed. Through this roadmap, in 2030, Peru will have consolidated the necessary conditions to enable the transition towards a development model based on circular economy principle, which means redesign service, reducing material pressure, and also, and I think it's very important, decoupling tourism growth from increases in waste and emissions. We are tackling not only plastic, but also the use of energy, water, mobility, food system, and construction materials in the tourism sector. We want this to be a lower carbon one. This roadmap has four strategic objectives, The first one is related to policy, frameworks, and planning instrument, because we believe that we need a clear environment as regulation. The second strategy objective is related to circular tourism business models. We are promoting environmental certifications, introducing practice that reduce the material and energy footprint of hotels, restaurants, tour operators. The third object is related to visitors. We want visitors that value and choose tourism and handicraft products that incorporate circularity in the process of being made. So we want that program that highlight low carbon, low print impact in tourism products. Our fourth object is related to destination. We want our destinations to be managed and promoted as a regenerative one. We want the tourism experience will strengthen the community-based tourism. With all the things that I'm saying, we want to reduce approximately 74,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent through circularity-related mitigation actions. And it's important to say that with this all combined, integrating circularity in our operations, in tourism, and also in the destination level, will help us to reduce our impact and reduce also our carbon emissions in Peru.
Thank you so much, Sofia. I can only say congratulations for the circular economy plan for tourism. We understand the effort and how complicated it is for tourism to really advance plans on aspects that are not exactly under the competence of the Ministry of Tourism, right? Whether it is circularity, adaptation, or other. So really looking forward to that plan, setting the scene for others, same as the adaptation plan of Brazil will hopefully support other countries in such endeavor. As we are now on the circular economy train, I'm going back to you, Scott, with a question on food, in this case, food systems. We know they contribute significantly to tourism emissions, but also I guess they offer some of the fastest wins. We have been working with hotels and partners together, and you're also leading additional work. So how do you think is food waste reduction helping accelerate the low carbon transition?
So yes, we've become a bit obsessed with food waste at EasyJet Holidays. So it's one of the primary areas that we see our hotels can make a significant difference really quickly, because it's measurable, it's visible to customers and the people that work in the hotel, but ultimately it's solvable. So we've been working with an AI solution called Winow, and if you've not seen this technology, I recommend looking it up. It's a fabulous bit of kit that uses AI technology that sits on top of a bin, and the bin sits on top of some scales that weighs the waste. But in real time, a chef can throw their items away. The AI measures what's been disposed of and sends real-time information to the chefs, the cooks, to help them better manage their production throughout the service. So we've been sharing that with all of our hotel partners, and the powerful thing about this is it's a significant reduction in food waste. So we've seen our trial hotel reduce their waste by 68%. We've saved them over 100,000 euros in the fact that they've just implemented this equipment. So if you're looking from a hotel's perspective and you're on a journey to declimatize to get an early indication, they don't always see the vision or how easy it is to move into these climate solutions. So here you have a climate solution that demonstrates to them that they are doing the right thing, they're reducing their climate impact, but ultimately it's improving their customer experience and also not affecting their bottom line, in fact, improving what they do. So we see this as a really good start for hotels, how they can get onto their climate journey, and once they deal with that initial anxiety of how, they need to start finding solutions. Once they've got a credible alternative like this, it will lead to more of this kind of thing and the ability to pick up more of the solutions that we share across our network and the wider industry.
Thank you, Scott. We're really happy about the collaboration, and it's true that while speaking about climate action with hoteliers may be daunting sometimes, if the entry point is food, all of a sudden everybody's listening. So it's a quite strategic approach. Let me move now into a question for Iberostar. Adam, your Iberostar group is also recognized for its circularity efforts. Also, you have a science-based climate strategy, and also recognized for tracking Scope 3 emissions, very complex through supplier partnerships and other type of agreements. So can I ask you which elements of your supply chain transformation are showing the most promise for reducing emissions?
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. And it's really challenging. Scope 3 emissions are really challenging. We do not have direct influence, as we all know, over those. And so we have it is part of our overall roadmap and strategy we have committed to carbon neutrality by 2030. And we first start with decarbonization. So we want to reduce our absolute emissions by approximately 58%, about 60% from our baseline. And Scope 3 emissions account for over 3/4 of those emissions. So it's a really big challenge. It's probably our greatest challenge to meet that. And so one way we do it is through partnerships and collaborations, actually like with Scott and EasyJet. So I believe we just hosted a workshop on Winnow less than a month ago in Mallorca. And so those sorts of things really help to share knowledge so that we can understand how do we build these systems, and how do we make the business case for the systems as well. We all want to do this for the betterment of society and the planet, and for the sustainability and responsible tourism, but we do have to make that business case to make it work. So those are some of the things we do. In terms of our own value chain, we are spread across the globe, and so one thing we need to do then is we have started to have a segmentation strategy. We will understand which companies of our suppliers contribute to most right now to our emissions, and we start working with those. It's not an even distribution across thousands of suppliers across the globe. We can start to break this down by working with those bigger suppliers and those biggest contributors. Then at the end, when we have gone through decarbonization first, we also do offsetting with high quality, high integrity sequestration work. We do that on the ground, working with communities in the locations where we have destinations. So for example, we have projects ongoing now with communally managed lands in Mexico called the Ejidos, where we partner with them to contract on sustainable forestry management and providing technical assistance, business planning to do the baseline measurement for carbon accounting and then the carbon crediting through that time. So we do this, it's a multifaceted strategy. It takes a lot of work, but we're starting to see the results of that, and we think it's something that we're up to meet the challenge, and we're going to meet our goals by 2030, these really ambitious goals.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you, Iberostar, for the thoroughness with which you do your climate planning and implementation, and also for the always willingness always willing to share. No, you're always very open, and that's really appreciated by the whole tourism community. Gunay, let's talk about governance now. Also, building on your insights from COP29, what policy shifts do you think we need or would be more transformative to accelerate climate action in tourism?
Thank you for the question. So what we observed during COP29, from what I observed, I can say that three major policy shifts are needed. The first one is, again, institutionalizing tourism within climate governance, and the other way around. Tourism within climate governance and climate within tourism governance. In Azerbaijan, we are actively working to ensure that this two-way integration is taking place very effectively. So we approach this from two major directions. The first direction is driven mainly by us as a tourism authority. So what we do, we involve and engage with relevant environmental, economy, and other authorities, and we bring them into tourism policy making. So it can be strategy development, regulatory reforms, or infrastructure planning. As an example, I can say developing a regulatory mechanism for climate action in tourism is now a separate action item in the draft state program for tourism development for 2026-2030. Another example is a kind of practical tool we developed. It's a sustainable tourism infrastructure framework for tourism and recreation zones. So we are now working with the Minister of Economy to have a separate, specific regulatory mechanism for investments in tourism and recreation zones, and to make those investments sustainable, to incentivize sustainable investments in those zones. Second direction is having tourism recognized in national climate agenda. So this is a more challenging part, because here we have external dependencies, but still we work with the relevant authorities to ensure that tourism can get access to climate finance, to tourism has its own place in national adaptation plans, and etc. As an example here, so we managed to have a separate tourism chapter in green taxonomy that was developed by the Central Bank of Azerbaijan. So I think it's also kind of a good example and practical tool to get access to climate finance. The second major policy shift, I believe, is about common approach to measurement, because we need reliable data, and we need kind of a very strong evidence base, without which we cannot talk about prioritizing investments or tracking progress. So it's not just Azerbaijani challenge, it's a global challenge, and as in Azerbaijan, so we are trying to also to deal with this challenge and come up with solutions. The third major policy shift, I believe, should be mainstreaming climate impact and sustainability in public decision-making process. So whenever we talk about investments in tourism infrastructure, we should ensure that climate impact and sustainability is a requirement there. So from the very early stage of designing to the final stage of operation and management. So I believe by combining these three major policy shifts or directions with stronger international cooperation, we will be able to have a kind of climate resilient tourism developing all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Gunay. Very clear, and I think very useful for this plan for accelerated solutions that Azerbaijan is also part of as the previous host of COP29. So we have talked about strengthening collaboration, we have talked about transforming systems. How about we talk a bit about nature now? We know that we can only thrive as a sector if the ecosystems that we depend on are remain healthy and resilient. So let's talk about regenerating nature in Peru. Sofia, you have a sectoral adaptation program for tourism, which is also, again, a significant advancement in integrating climate resilience into tourism planning. Can you tell us a bit about the plan?
Yes, well, we are presenting the plan. It's a draft now. We are finishing it by this month, and we are presenting it to the Ministry of Environment and a high-level coalition in Peru of climate change to be approved. Exactly. Climate change impacts are affecting the tourism sector in Peru. For example, we have the retreat of glacier and extremely events sometimes. So we are focusing our effort on strengthening climate risk management in destination through early warning system, timeline climate information, precise identification of highly vulnerable tourist areas. So this enables destination to move from reaction to anticipation. Another key measure is the adaptation of tourism infrastructure, the access routes, viewpoints, basic service. Everything has to be designed, you know, to withstand landslides, floods, heat waves, and other increasingly frequent events. So we are introducing all these kind of things in this program. We are presenting, as I say, this the end of this month. So when we have this plan, we are going to also have a roadmap to integrate adaptation into the tourism sector. And I would like to mention that all of our rules, regulation, laws are elaborated in participation with all the academia, private actors, public sector also. For example, the roadmap in economy circular in tourism, we went to all the destinations, all the priority destinations in Peru to collect all the opinions, expectatives of the people there. So we are going to do the same in this adaptation program. To end this participation, I would like to recognize the effort that, for example, Machu Picchu has made to be, for the third time, be recognized as a low carbon destination. So in Peru, we already have practice or destinations that are implementing activities in this regard.
Thank you, Sofia. Indeed, we're quite proud to have Machu Picchu as one of the signatories of the Glasgow Declaration, and also very proud to have Peru as a member of the Working Group on Tourism and Climate Action. So we look forward to sharing all your progress through that group with the other countries. We're talking about nature, so obviously next question is for you, Adam. Iberostar is very invested in supporting the conservation of coral reefs, mangroves. You're also advancing support for other blue carbon ecosystems. So how can nature-based solutions help us build resilience while we create also co-benefits for communities?
Yeah, it's really integral to our overall strategy. So when it comes to sustainability, you know, it's been mentioned before, tourism contributes 8 or 9% of global emissions. But at the same time, we're on the front line of climate change as well, particularly when it comes to where Iberostar operates, mostly on the coast. So we need to work with nature in order to maintain, you know, the viability of our business and in the places where we work. So nature-based solutions are really integral to what we do, whether it's mangroves or coral reefs, as you said. What we do then is we work in different ways through those partnerships. Again, we can either work with governments, we work with local communities to build the different strategies to try to either restore or protect the parts of those aspects of nature that really bring dividends back to us. They will reduce our risk if we take care of them. I was on a panel earlier this week, and my fellow panelist from Indonesia, she had a great quote, and she said, "Let nature absorb the shock, and we avoid the trauma." And I think that just really sums it up why nature-based solutions just really is going to be the way forward, I think, for adaptation to climate change.
Thank you. And if you allow me, I think the mitigation co-benefits would be quite relevant as well.
100%, yes. That's why the blue carbon part of this is so critical. Blue carbon is like an accelerant when it comes to absorbing carbon. And so we also work with those different projects as well. We have projects right now in Dominican Republic, and where we are working to restore and conserve mangroves as well, because that does draw down more carbon more quickly. So you get those co-benefits, like you said. And again, coming from the private sector, it is like, can you make the business case for these things as well? And we can, and we're hopeful that by showing this and demonstrating this, then that entire tourism ecosystem can learn from that as well, and we can start to get that catalyst for change and start to unlock this sort of private investment into these nature-based solutions.
I couldn't agree more, and in fact, if you look at the indicators that are under discussion here in Belém for the global goal on climate adaptation, those indicators that mention the private sector and how the private sector can contribute are in many ways connected to nature-based solutions.
I think the tourism sector is going to have to lead on that. When you see our exposure, and again, our contribution to climate change, we should be leading on these nature-based solutions, and I think we can, and I think we're like really, you can feel the energy this week here. I think we're on the cusp of something really special and starting down that path.
Thank you, Adam. I really hope you're right. We are definitely on that path. Pedro, question for you. So Cristo is a cultural icon. We said it before. How do you think heritage sites can help advance climate resilience, but also, let's say, climate resilience from the angle of visitor behavior and engagement?
Well, heritage sites receives thousands of visitors daily, and offering a powerful platform to influence awareness, behavior, and policies implementations on a global scale. So we hold an outstanding position to demonstrate that tourism can be both driven of vitality and climate and nature positive change. So we understand that the community and visitors' educations is more than necessary to change perception and to enhance public engagement for the integral care of our common household. Therefore, the World Heritage Network is conceived as a grassroots initiative led by the Global South sites themselves, grounded by principles of equity, horizontality, and born from our collective sense of urgency in face of the climate changes. So by enhancing social and environmental education projects and boosting the impact of educational efforts for visitors and the communities is a pathway that we think that's very, very important.
Thank you very much, Pedro. We're still in the, let's say, segment of regenerating nature, so I have the pleasure to introduce a video message that we received from Costa Rica, a leading destination when it comes to nature.
Welcome and warm regards from Costa Rica, a small nation with a big heart, where nature thrives and tourism transforms lives. Costa Rica has become a global reference for sustainable tourism, a place where visitors live unforgettable experiences while we safeguard what makes us unique, our people, our nature, and our culture.
With 60% forest cover, and nearly 30% of protected areas and areas under payment for environmental service in land and in ocean, every step in this country is a step into our nature masterpiece.
Costa Rica leads the way in environmental innovation. Our decarbonization route is ambitious, moving steadily toward net zero emissions while operating on over 90% renewable energy.
And we're very happy that all this is linked to tourism, a tourism that is nature-based, and that now we see the benefits of having protected nature and its relationship with tourism. Costa Rica will be reflecting this in its new NDC that will be presented here or has been presented here in Brazil, Belém.
From our leadership in UN tourism committees, Costa Rica continues to advocate for policies that measure what truly matters: sustainability, well-being, and shared prosperity. Today, we invite destinations worldwide to turn commitments into action, to work hand in hand with environmental authorities, to align with the Glasgow Declaration, and to pilot the measurement of sustainability in tourism framework. Because what we measure, we can improve. Costa Rica congratulates the new Secretary General of the UN Tourism, Sheikha Nasser Al-Nawais, the first woman and the youngest leader to hold this position. We look forward to working together to strengthen tourism's role as a true force for good. Our message to COP30 is clear: tourism and environment walk together.
In this COP in Belém, it's going to be very important that we continue with the action plan of the UN tourism coming into the COP30. Nowhere else, no other sector can build such a strong alliance between nature, climate change, than tourism sector. Because tourism, the beautiful places where people like to go, is very related to protecting nature, but at the same time, this protection has to be achieved. We have to protect our nature that we enjoyed, protect our nature that nurtures us, protect the nature that gives us a safer climate, and stop land use change and deforestation, major cause of emissions. So the protection of nature, biodiversity, and climate change is a very fertile ground for climate action in the part of the tourism sector.
We can only protect what we value, and Costa Rica values nature as its greatest legacy to the world. Let's continue building a global tourism sector that not only moves people, but also moves the world toward sustainability.
Thank you so much to Costa Rica Minister William Rodriguez and Minister Franz Tattenbach, Tourism and Environment, showing an example of that whole of government approach and strong support to our sector. And with this, I'm going to move to a conclusions round, very short one from each one of you, to just connect all the thoughts that we have been bringing to the table with the global partnership. So in one sentence, colleagues, what's the most important action, according to you, that the global partnership should prioritize? Should we start with you, Adam?
Well, okay, one sentence.
Yes.
All right.
Maybe two,
truly,
but not more.
Truly, let's work together. Okay, and come back, semicolon, like we all should be working together, and we can. Okay. With that, we'll have progress, period.
Scott?
Yeah, working together, but we need to be working together on practical solutions that are impactable, scalable, and ultimately doable by the hotels and everyone else that we need to be involved in this journey.
Thank you. And looking forward to connecting those with the ESG framework. Pedro?
Well, hello. To pull together, to increase the best practices and internalize it forward and further.
Thank you, Pedro, for reminding us about the fun part of our sector. Unai?
I would say, of course, working together is very important, and also working together to ensure that legacy continues from one action to another. Thank you.
Sophia?
Yes, also working together, public and private sector, but also with communities. Original indigenous people are also important in tourism sector because they have the knowledge. So we sometimes need to learn from them. And also finance is important.
Very much. I'm happy we had IDB with us earlier. So I guess this is the vision of guiding the global partnership that we wish to establish. It's participatory, it's something we need to co-create. Thanks, Brazil, again, for the support. Thank you, everybody. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to continue working together.